Here.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's important to rise today and speak on this critical matter of public importance around the Rockcliffe government's privatisation agenda. What the Premier fails to point out every time he speaks up in recent days and recent weeks is the government, his government, this Premier, have led this state to this position. The Liberal government, the Liberal minority government, have led Tasmania to a position where they believe they need to sell off valuable Tasmanian assets that look after and serve the Tasmanian people. This government, over the last 11 years, have lost control of their financial management, have lost control of their understanding of what it means to serve and lead Tasmanians. They've got themselves in such a mess that they've destroyed the budget, and now they're asking Tasmanians to pay. We know that right-sizing the public service, that is this government's, Rockcliffe, this is your public service, that you have had over the last 11 years a capacity and a responsibility to look after and protect and ensure that it serves Tasmanians. We know that the debt at the moment, this Liberal minority government have served across for 11 years and got ourselves in this financial situation despite alarm bells being rung. I can remember in the first weeks of being here, the Fiscal Sustainability report was released, and it declared very clearly what had to happen and what this government needed to do to start correcting the mismanagement that they had been across for many years. We know that the state-owned companies and the GBEs have got to a point where some of them serve Tasmanians beautifully, some of them are questionable in terms of losing their focus on acting in the best interests of Tasmanians. But for the last 11 years, this government, the Rockcliffe minority Liberal government, have been responsible for ensuring that they do act in Tasmania's best interests. We know that the red tape that's been built up and laid on and made more difficult for Tasmanian businesses and Tasmanian individuals, for Tasmanians or people outside Tasmania that are looking to come and invest in Tasmania, that you guys have made it harder every year for 11 years. The government, the Premier, stand up and say, and this morning it was amazing, the government said, we want to create an environment where people want to invest. I think he used the word are conducive to investment. You've been leaders of this state for 11 years and we know that people are being turned away. There is money that could be invested in Tasmania to protect us from your privatisation agenda because the Tasmanian economy would actually be thriving, but you get in the way and you stop opportunities for investment. Now, I needed to explain this when I was talking last night to my family about what was happening in the state and what did this mean. And in simplest terms, when I was explaining it to my young son, I said, you imagine in our home we have some debt. We might have actually reasonably built up some debt because not all debt is bad, but we might have had out of control for a little while. And we've got some things in our household that we could sell. They're important to us, they serve us well, but maybe we might need to sell them. The Premier says he wants to set up a future fund. He says that he wants to secure the future of Tasmania. In one point this morning he called it the Sovereign Wealth Fund, but then he said actually we're just going to sell stuff to put in a fund momentarily then to pay off debt. So in a home, just say any home in Tasmania, you've got a bike that you ride to work, you might have a couch that you enjoy at night time to sit on as a family, but you might have some debt on a credit card. You sell your bike, you pay off your credit card, you've got nothing. You can't get to work anymore to earn your wages, or you sell your couch, you pay off your debt. You can't sit around as a family anymore and enjoy your afternoons together. Selling things off in Tasmania to put into a future fund, a sovereign wealth fund, I'd question the Premier if he actually understands what the definition of that is, and I'd like the Premier to put on record a definition of what he wants his future fund to be, when in the next breath he says it's just to pay down debt. Tasmania is not served by selling our valuable assets to pay off debt and be left with nothing better to do. We have year on year entities and organisations, we have authorities in Tasmania that actually generate revenue for us to invest in our futures. That happens now. You erode that, you sell that off, you're actually undermining the future and the contributions that our Tasmanian assets can make to our Tasmanian community and the economy. It is short-sighted, and we know the outcomes of privatisation is always increased cost, it's always decreased services, and it's eroded assets, and it does not serve Tasmania into the future.